Hello, everyone, and welcome to the November the 13th regular council meeting of the town of Vegreville. I call this meeting to order at 7:02. I'm looking for a motion to adopt the agenda. Councilor Robb makes the motion. Is there any additions or deletions? Seeing none, all those in favor, carried. Next up, I'll need a motion to adopt the minutes of our organizational meeting on October the 28th. Councillor Berry, thank you very much. Is there any errors or omissions within those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor, carried. Next, I'll need a motion to adopt the minutes of the regular town council meeting on October the 28th. Councillor Bullock, thank you very much. Maybe we'll look to this side next. But is there any errors or omissions within those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor, carried. We have no delegations tonight, but Director Saskew is going to do some supplemental correspondence.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just getting to the right tab. I want to make sure I'm doing this in the right order. So the first one I have here is a crosswalk request, actually. So this might be Director Lefebvre, some additional comments. Sure. But it says, Dear Vegreville Town Council, I'm writing this letter to inquire about adding a crosswalk across 58th Ave, both at both the 55th Street and the 56th Street intersections. 58th Ave is a major road, and in Vegreville, the sidewalk is not connected along this stretch. As shown in the map below, the sidewalk moves from the north side of 58th Ave between 53rd Ave and 56th Street, and then to the south side between 56th Street and 55th Street, and then back to the north side. Pedestrians are forced to walk or cross 58th Ave and cannot do so safely as there is no marked crosswalks at either intersection. Please consider adding a marked crosswalk along this road to improve the safety of our neighborhood. Thank you for taking the time to consider this proposition. Christine.
Thank you. Take a motion to receive and file. Councillor Curtis makes the motion. Any discussion? Councillor Bullock.
I'd like to thank Christine for her letter, and I am very familiar with that area and the traffic that is up and down 58th Avenue. I guess one of the questions I would have is what's all involved in installing the crosswalk there, and what else would we have to do besides just paint some lines?
Director Lefebvre is where you're at. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bullock. I'm also familiar with this area, and the expansion of a crosswalk, painting lines is the affordable part. However, when we cross on 56th Street from the south to the north, we can't have a crosswalk that goes from sidewalk to grass, is what it is now. So we'd have to concrete in a para-ramp to give people an opportunity to cross the street safely, turn on something like concrete, and then head to the sidewalk that exists on the north side. The same would happen on 55th Ave. There's a bit of a para-ramp there, but it'd have to be expanded by half so we can cross again from the north to the south safely with a crosswalk to get on a concrete surface and then to the sidewalk that exists on the north.
And that would come with a financial price. What do you think we're looking at there to do that?
I would estimate the one standalone para-ramp probably at about 8,000 and probably 4 to expand the rest. So probably 12,000. Like I said, the painting of the lines is the affordable part, and then there would be, if requested, some signage, but a lot of our residential crosswalks do not have signage. In fact, most of them don't. Some do, but not all.
Okay. Any other comments? Go ahead, Councillor Bullock.
I guess we'd have to find, well, that would be the pricing and stuff like that. I think it's a little late for this budget that's coming up. We've already gone through a budget process, and I don't know, we'd have to think about it a little more. Is the speed of the vehicles causing most of the problem, or possibly the speed of the vehicles, or it is 50 kilometers an hour, but I know what you mean by crossing in that section to go on the sidewalk and walk across and stuff. So yeah, I think it's a valid concern.
Well, you'd have to cross twice.
Yes.
Right? Counselor Berry, do you have?
Yeah, thank you, Worship. Yes, I'm just pondering the aspect of how many locations in town this circumstance actually exists and what's further to the, I guess it'd be the east along that way. Do we have sidewalks that are skipping south to north? In which case, I just don't think I have enough information here really to stop and think about it, or whether we just need signage to say slow pedestrians.
So an answer to your question, I will get to your question next. So Director Lefebvre, if we go east, is there one side, north or south, of that avenue that has a continuous sidewalk?
Obviously, this sidewalk in this neighborhood was constructed a long time ago. And if you head east on 58th Ave, this is the only chunk of sidewalk on the south side. The rest of the sidewalks all the way to 50th Street are on the north side. This is the odd one.
So wouldn't the better answer to this would be to actually install a sidewalk on the other side? Eventually.
Eventually, yeah.
The access or the road allowance would allow us to put a sidewalk in there, correct?
That is correct. And just doing some quick math right now, at the rate we're paying for sidewalk installation in 2024, that's a stretch of 150, 300, probably 20. Yeah, with the meters, we're paying right now $350 a linear meter for sidewalks, so that puts the price between 23 and 25,000 to put a sidewalk on that side.
But it would be the answer, instead of trying to create people walking back and forth.
Yeah, the safest thing to do is to put a sidewalk there, obviously, because anytime you're forcing people to cross the street, it's a safety concern. It is.
Okay, Councillor Rohrbach.
Well, mine actually fell very similar in there, and I guess what I was gonna say is, I definitely appreciate it brought to our attention, because we don't always walk with the same people in the same areas, so I do think when she says, when it's stated, time for consideration of this, proposition, we are, I think that's a fair statement. For me, I would want to say that, yeah, I want to see us identifying those areas, but now that this has been brought, it can certainly be looked at as you guys are looking at where is your next sidewalk. So I think it is something that we could look at, but I certainly too would think that sometimes crosswalks here and there, I mean, a crosswalk is important, and I think sometimes they draw attention, but the safer issue is still the sidewalk. So for me, at this point, it's for consideration, and I think we will consider it as we're looking at projects going forward.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Curtis.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll echo that. I was actually going through the maps and following the sidewalk as we go. It would make the most sense to try and put a plan together in the next budget cycle or whatever to add that piece to that stretch.
I just think that it fixes all the problems, really. Yeah. We're not forcing people to cross a road twice just so they can walk a block. And it's the safer thing to do, so, maybe we keep that in mind when we're looking at sidewalks this year, or we'll write back to the writer here and just, Christine, and let her know that in our opinion, that would probably be the best answer. And if we can't get it done in this season, due to the budget constraints, that we'll definitely look at putting in next year's budget. So we all agree on that?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll get back to her and let her know. And hopefully, we'll remember to put this in our list for next year. Okay, Director Saskia.
Thank you, Worship. So I have here a letter addressed to Town Council. This is regarding property taxes on Rule 095300, request to cancel penalty of $7.3736. I received a letter from the Town of Vegreville dated October 31st, 2024, advising me of the subject penalty. I met with a town employee on November 8th who advised me to submit a request to council to waive these penalties, as there was no administrative error. In early June, I had arranged through ATB online for my 2024 tax bill to be paid on June 28th. Upon checking my accounts on July 1st, I noticed that my payment of taxes had not occurred. It seems I had not completed all the steps in the process. Immediately, I rectified this by making the payment. In early July, we went on a 5-week trip. Upon returning in August, I went through our mail. At that time, I did not find any mail from the town of Vegreville. I assumed the town had accepted my tax payment without any penalty. The letter of October 31st was my first notice of the penalty. At the time of making the payment, I felt that because the town was in receipt of the full payment prior to the first business day after the due date, that no penalty would be applied. For that same reason, I feel the penalty should be withdrawn. Prior to returning to Vegreville in July 2022, I had paid property taxes from about 1983 to 1994 and at 5738 43A Street, and again from 2005 to 2015 for a duplex trailer in the Wooden Garden Trailer Park. A check of your records will show that taxes were always paid on time. I have always found that the tax penalty detailed on your property tax bill to be sufficient motivation to pay it on time. In my case, I failed unknowingly to complete the process online with my bank to enable payment to be made on June 28th, a senior's moment. However, upon discovering my error, I paid my taxes in full on July 1st. If for no other reason, I think you should give me the senior break and cancel the penalty. Regards, Paul.
Okay, so before I take a motion, on our last motion to receive and file, all those in favor? Carried. Now I'd take a motion to receive and file on this letter. Councillor Berry makes the motion. So, I would imagine there was a whole bunch of people that paid their taxes on the next working day after the penalties kicked in.
That is correct. On the tax notice that was sent out this year, we had explicit instructions that payment had to be received by our office by the end of the business day on June 28th, 2024. We also, for anybody that makes online payments or any of like the bank payments that come through, we send out receipts for those tax payments after the fact. So there's a large volume that we process, and normally by the end of July, we've sent out a tax receipt. So like, for example, if you bank with TD and TD pays your taxes for you, we actually do send those receipts out as well, just to give people extra confirmation that their payment had been received. And we do not send penalty notices until at the end of October. We send these letters out to everybody that is still in arrears, warning them that an additional 15% penalty will be applied on all balances outstanding as of December 31st or whatever our last working day is. So this is a courtesy letter that we send out every year about this time to ensure that people don't have a second penalty applied to their total balance owing. So if there's multiple tax years, it would be all tax years and all penalties would be levied that 15% extra.
Okay, any discussion?
Just a question.
Sure.
You know, in all past decisions, we've asked this question, so I do want to ask, so from your stance, you see nothing administratively, there was an error, it completely became an error on the resident, is that correct?
That is correct. He states it in his letter that he had arranged for it on the 28th, and under his human error, he noticed it on July 1st and then completed the payment there. So a July 1st payment is past end of day on June 28th, so there is no administrative error on our part here.
Councillor Berry.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a question along exactly that same line. If the individual had arranged with the bank to have it paid on the 28th, did you receive any payment from the bank?
No, he even confirmed that he didn't complete the full steps, so it actually did not get transmitted.
Okay,
we
so
received
the
it
only
after
errors
June
that we can
1st.
see here, unfortunately, don't fall on council or on town administration, sorry. So they have to just, when a person's paying taxes, they have to make sure that they get paid. They can't leave it to somebody else to pay it for them.
So I do believe is what happened is they went on their bank app to pay a bill and they didn't complete the whole payment process. Yeah. Again, in the past, and I've been here for a while, we've never forgiven anybody that, unless it was, they could prove that it was the error of the town. So, looks like we're going to say no to this request, simply based on the history of what the decision process has always been, so. Okay, all those in favor of receive and file? Carried.
Okay, on to the next one. This one is, Dear Council, I hereby request a tax penalty forgiveness from the town council on this matter. Respectfully, Heike Senyek, and so we have below correspondence from earlier that same day that there are 2 properties that I pay taxes on in town. In previous years, I received a tax notice with both properties on it, which has always been paid promptly. This year, I received a tax notice with only 1 property on it. I assumed you would send me a separate bill for the other property. When I went to pay the tax bill, nothing was mentioned about the other property or an outstanding balance. On Friday, November 8th, I received a tax notice from Kara McDonald stating that the taxes on the civic address 5818 52nd Ave have not been paid, which is true since I haven't received a bill for that property. Furthermore, a penalty has been added to the bill. Since I've always taken care of the tax bills, I respectfully ask that you remove the penalty, and I am more than happy to pay the original amount of $3249.98 and issue me an invoice. Thank you for looking into this matter. Heike.
Okay, I'll take a motion to receive and file. Councilor Curtis makes the motion. So the discussion would be, do we ever send one tax notice with both properties, 2 different properties on the same notice?
That is not correct. We always would send 2 tax notices. So each separate tax notice has a separate assessment and tax notice. So those would have to be on separate invoices. In the past, we have spent administrative time pulling out duplicates, which we haven't done for probably 2 to 3 years now, and pulling out duplicates and mailing them in 1 envelope. So in the past, yes, we have sent 2 tax notices in 1 envelope, but due to the administrative time of that and the chance for administrative error as we're sorting through different piles, because it's based on roll number that it prints out, not based on alphabetical name. So it's not easy. We have chosen now to send separate mailed envelopes for ones that are like less than 10 of the same owner.
And it's been that way for a couple of years.
That is correct.
I know that when I have received my tax notices, property adjacent to the one tax roll always comes in a different envelope. A few years ago, we used to get them with both notices and separate property in the same envelope to the same person. But it stopped a couple of years ago, so they're individual. So even last year, she wouldn't have received both tax rolls on the same tax notice.
Yes, they would
would
have
have
never
been
been on the
separate.
same notice. At times, in the past, we have spent the time to pull,
Put two actual physical tax notices in the same envelope.
that's correct.
But that, we haven't done that for a couple of years.
No, it's just the administrative time for that and also chance for administrative error. In the past, there was tax notices where we've pulled 2 out and then Counselor Curtis's got snuck in with someone else's, and so that's not very good for keeping things confidential. So that's why we chose not to do that for,
So her problem is with Canada Post,
it could potentially be Canada Post, yes.
but she did come in to pay her taxes and didn't inquire why she wasn't paying the other one.
That is correct. So if it's under the same name, at times people have said, oh, I have 2 properties, can you search my name? That other tax roll would come up. But if they were just paying their, I believe the ones that she paid on time was her residential taxes. So if they pulled up their residential tax roll, it would not have shown that this other property was still outstanding, the way that our system works. It's based on tax roll when you enter in based on the invoices versus if you do a name search, you can see corporate and residential at the same.
And there's no way that we can ever determine if Canada Post delivered it to her house.
No, the way that mailing works with Canada Post, after 5 days, it's considered as received. So that's with the MGA, the rules that we follow. That's why our mailing date is May 4th, and then our actual assessment date is considered May 11th, because it has to be 5 full business days after the mailing date.
Any other discussion? Go ahead.
Thank you. Just for my clarity, the way it reads to me is that in the past, she has received one notice with both properties on it.
That would have never
That
occurred.
would have never occurred.
No, so it was likely she's referring to,
The two
at times,
invoices.
we would pull 2 invoices and put them in one envelope.
Which I know for a fact we haven't done for.
We haven't done since probably pre-COVID.
I always wondered because I get all these envelopes, like they used to put them all in one.
Yes, we had several complaints about the multiple invoices.
Go ahead.
So, similar to Councillor Curtis's question, that was going to be mine. And unfortunately, even though we know it has been done for a number of years, even if we had just begun the process, I mean, the reality is it never once ever would have had one sheet of paper that had them both on. So due to that, you would have always known that there was 2. And I think it's also fair to say that you would know if you're paying, this would be a substantive difference between what you're paying. So it's one of those things, again, that because we have always stated it must be administrative, and there's nothing indicating an administrative error here, even if Canada Post, which we can't determine, you can't know, we as people know when we pay yearly taxes, we know what they would have been. So I can't see anything that I could list as administrative error, which puts us back in that same spot for me.
Okay, Councillor Barry.
Thank you, Worship. Just following exactly on that same theme. If I understand correctly then, if a person comes in to pay their taxes and they have more than one property, the tax clerk would never know they had more than one property unless they said, search my name
That
for
is
other property.
correct. Yes, in our
So
payment
there's
screen.
no way that the individual should assume that she's going to be notified, oh, you still have an outstanding balance on another property, because the tax clerk wouldn't be prepared to try and look that up for her, because there's way too many people to know everybody.
That's correct. And then we do this courtesy mail in October.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so again, we'll get back to Mrs. Senyuk and let her know that, again, we can't find any fault on our staff, so. Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Carry, thank you. And the CAO Ling will take this one.
Thank you, Your Worship. This next correspondence is from Marshall Elko, and it's Dear Town Council. As advised by Public Works, I am emailing you to request a no parking between signs signage at the front entrance of the new rental complex, Residence at CPC at 6212 55th Avenue, Vegreville. As there's a great number of people living here, the vast majority being seniors, emergency access at the south front entrance is very important. Within the past year, both the fire department and ambulance services have been dispatched here on numerous occasions. All the residents are fully aware of the no parking at the front entrance policy at this facility. However, visitors, couriers, etc. are not, and on many occasions have had the entrance blocked off for long periods of time. And without signage, have most often refused to move their vehicles at my request. For the benefit of the many families who live in this 41-unit complex, I am asking to have 2 signs installed at the front allowing for emergency access. Please call me at the following number if I can be of assistance in their placement or if you have any further questions. Thank you for considering my request. Marshall Elko, Site Manager, Residence at CPC.
Okay, thank you. Take a motion for receive and file the letter. Councillor Warwick makes the motion. Discussion, we'll start with Councillor Bullock.
Okay, I understand what he's asking for. I guess a couple of the questions that I do have is, okay, does he just want like a loading zone, or does he want a drop-off point just in front of the doors? I guess that's what I'd like to know. Like, and I guess, or does he need a handicap zone? Like, I don't know, is that what we're looking at here? I think a couple questions I'd like to know. What's the biggest problem besides just having to?
It's at the south front entrance.
Yes.
So he would like to have nobody parking right there at the front entrance.
Just at the entrance, yes. Not the whole space, from what I'm gathering.
Councillor Lefebvre, can you give us some history about? Give us some history about the parking that we switched no parking to one side, to the other, so the bus routes and stuff could be there?
Yes, your worship, several years ago, we had instituted a no parking on the south side of 55th Avenue, on the north side, sorry, of 55th Avenue, to allow some room for the buses to pass when there was vehicles parked on each side of 55th. It was congested and tight and dangerous. So then we had banned the parking from the north side, or where all the buildings are, on 55th, and had parking on the south. After CPC had shut and left, it relieved a lot of parking congestion that we were experiencing. So we switched the parking ban, so there's no parking on the south side, which is the grass field side, and allowed parking on the north side, which made more sense as it was closer to the residents and the townhouses and the people that need to park there. And that's where the parking is at now. So there's no parking on the south side, and there is parking allowed on the north side. And that parking that's not allowed on the south side still is timed at the school hours from 8 till 4. They can park during the evening, but not during business hours. If
When the school buses are running. Okay, so that was done. Sounds like he's having some problems with visitors to the building. I mean, because it doesn't sound like any of his renters are the problem. As far as access with fire trucks or ambulance, we probably wouldn't park right there anyway, in the very front with the fire truck. So, what are your guys' thoughts? Go ahead, Councillor Bullock.
I don't think it's an issue about not having parking right in front of the entrance. You could still park either way. I don't know, I'm not sure about the fire hydrant parking. I'm not sure where that is exactly.
it's right on the west entrance into their paved parking area. So it's from that curb back towards the building, approximately 8 meters of a fire hydrant with yellow curb paint.
Okay. Would there be any parking available there in between that zone and if they had a parking or one spot with no parking in front of the doors?
There would still be some spots if he was given the opportunity to put in no parking right in front of the front doors. There'd be room for, I'm gonna guess, at 2 or 3 vehicles before they got to the yellow curb.
Okay. I don't have a problem with having a spot in front of the doors as a no parking zone or a loading zone, something like that,
Or 5 minute, or
or 5 minutes or something, but
Do they need permission for the town to put these signs up?
yes, they do. We're the road authority, so they'll need permission from council.
Go ahead, Councillor Wilbur.
So, thank you for the explanation, because I was having trouble visualizing if they were asking to put a spot close to their door, but in their parking lot or in the front. But we are talking the front. Now, I understand the concern. Thank you for the clarification when it comes to emergency services, because that may have changed it if we were talking about access. My one concern here, again, comes back down to treating everybody the same. Now, we have a number of apartment complexes within the town. Do we have other apartment complexes that we've allowed to block off an area as no parking? Just because I know we're talking apartment, which is way more people, more visitors, but I mean, in truth, we have a lot of residents who get a little bit upset that they can't block off the parking in front of their house, and they've been continuously told time and time again when they've complained to their neighbors that unfortunately you don't own the road, and it's unfortunate if your neighbor's kind of a creep and parks in front of your house and gives you no space. So I don't want to be unfair when we've refused to enforce this on the residential side to individual homes. And I understand an apartment's a little different because it's way more people, but to your knowledge, do we or have we put large spaces on our road in front of any of the other apartments?
To my knowledge, the answer is no. I haven't driven them all since this request come in to confirm, but I'm not aware or don't remember any restricted parking in front of any other apartments.
Sure would be handy on moving day. Somebody wasn't parked in front of the door. So, Councillor Bullock says that he doesn't have a problem giving them permission to put some signs up. What are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I have no problem if it's a request and they're willing to provide the signs, then.
Who is?
Are we providing the signs for them?
Well, we would give them permission if he wants to, if he wants us to deem it a no, give him permission, it's their property.
Right, that's my thing, is as long, yeah, if they're taking care of it, we'll give them permission, that's fine.
That's what they're looking for, is permission, and we're not gonna be installing signs. Councillor Barry?
Thank you, Worship. Well, I was just looking at the aerial photo or the shot of it here, and it looks like the width of their sidewalk is about 1 car length. So in about that area there is probably all that they would need to rope off or paint off for signage, and that would leave 2 or 3 car, maybe 3 car lengths between that and the fire hydrant block off. So it wouldn't take up too much space there, but I don't think they need to take the whole area in front of their place. So I could see just a small, maybe a 1-2 car spot if they set up the signs themselves.
Councillor?
Well, I'm a no because I'm not comfortable at all suggesting the buildings get to decide where they're setting the signs. I think it's a very dangerous precedent to set. And at this point, I'm not saying I'd never say yes to it, but I would want to know for sure. And I appreciate, to best recollection, but know if any other ones did. But I will have to be a hard no, because I think then we're going to also have residents that are going to come to us and suggest that we put no parking in front. So I'm a no.
Councillor Barry?
I tend to agree what she's saying, but I'm looking at this street as being a non-residential street. So
It's a residence.
there's an apartment, there's a complex that is off the street, but it's not actually residential like you would have in front of my place, in front of your place, in front of somebody else's place.
Well, and I think but then be prepared for each and every apartment building that wants to do it. When we say yes to this, everyone has to say yes to the next ones. That's my concern with it. I just have concerns once we start. I get his point, and theirs is a unique road. It's a difficult road. There's not a lot of parking on it. I just always have that concern that we've done it that we at least justify a reason why they would be unique and different to somebody else. But other than that, it's all good.
Okay, and I'm gonna say that I would deny their request too, because it would just, I've moved people into all these other apartments, and I'm sure that everybody would want no parking. And then we would be asked to enforce all the time. 41 different homeowners see someone parked there, they would be phoning us all the time. So, but we have a decision of 3 here that says that we should give permission. So if that's what the council has decided, is 3-2, then we would have Dale's department reach out and then tell him that if he would like to create a no parking zone by putting up some signs in front of those doors, that as the road authority, that we wouldn't object to it. Is that the way we would state that?
That would be the way you would state that.
Okay.
Would we specify a distance?
Yeah, the typical one stall, I'd go 7 meters or 21 feet.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a motion to receive and file. Do I need a separate motion to give that permission from council, or just?
You can just do and furthermore.
Okay, so furthermore was it your motion?
Well, that's the thing I'm wondering how we do furthermore, because I'm going to vote against it. So,
Then you can vote on the receive and file and do a second motion. That's fine.
Okay, all those in favor of receive and file?
yay.
Okay, and now we're looking for a separate motion to give permission. Councillor Bullock makes the motion for the furthermore. Okay, so all those in favor of giving permission to CPC residents to install their own no parking signs? Those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Okay, next up is Director Saskew.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I have here the monthly cash statement for the month ending September 30th, 2024. The balance of our accounts at the beginning of the month were $7,310,993. And at the end of the month, we saw a decrease of $884,439. And the end of the month balance was $6,426,554. $426,554. Sorry. So major sources of cash for the month were $357,330 in CCBF funding. So that's deferred revenue until we recognize it with the projects that we have used for the year. And we also received, on behalf of the library, a $40,965 public library grant. So that came into Town of Vegreville funds, but it went into the library funding. So that money is budgeted as the library's income source. So it's not technically the town's, but it comes to our bank account. Major uses of cash for the month were requisition payments of $529,000. So we have, I guess they would be quarterly requisition payments, but the majority of ours are in the spring and fall. So this was the large payment. 2024 projects, we had $241,000 spent on those. We also had purchased a mower that was a replacement from the prior year, one that had been written off. It finally arrived, so that was $60,000. That was paid for out of proceeds from last year's insurance claim. And we also paid $529,000 for requisition payments. Oh, I already said that. And that's everything.
So what's covered in those requisition payments?
So those are all of our debentures. So we have we have a random fire truck one, we have an arena upgrade one, we have the storm sewer and the North Parkway ones, yeah.
So the fire truck one, we're in our last year of that one.
2026.
Oh.
So we have one more year, and then 2026, we have a partial payment, and that one's done.
Okay. Excellent. So we'll take a motion for the financial statement. Councillor Berry makes it. Any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Berry.
Yes, I missed the number. Could you give me the number that you received on behalf of the library again?
$40,965. This is called the Public Library Grant.
Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor? Carried.
Okay. Shall I continue?
You should. Your name is beside it.
So I have the request for council decision for the municipal contribution to North Saskatchewan Watershed Alliance. The proposal is to approve the requested municipal contribution for the 2025 budget. At the legislative meeting held on November 5th, 2024, Town Council reviewed this letter from NSWA requesting a municipal contribution for 2025 of $3377.40. This financial contribution supports how the Alliance collectively manages our rivers, wetlands, and lakes. The town of Vegreville contributes to the North Saskatchewan Watershed Alliance annually and has been part of the Vermilion River Watershed Alliance since 2014. Financial implications is that there was no change to municipal contribution between 2024 and 2025. The NSWA contribution will be concluded in the 2025 budget, and it has been. Recommendation is that Town Council receive and file the correspondence from NSWA and further approve the new levy for the 2025 budget.
Okay, take a motion. Councillor Bullock makes the motion. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you got one more? Oh, sorry. It's CAO link.
All right, thank you. This request for council decision is regarding the Veterans Memorial Highway Association. And the proposal is to rejoin the Veteran Memorial Highway Association. The town of Vegreville has been invited to rejoin the Veterans Memorial Highway Association. After reviewing the request at the October 28th council meeting and discussing it further at the November 5th legislative committee meeting, consensus of council was in favor of rejoining VMHA. The cost of the membership for the Veteran Memorial Highway Association is 15 cents per capita. Based on Vegreville's population of 5,689, the cost to the town would be $853.35 per year. This cost would be incorporated in the council's annual budget for the duration of the town's membership. Administration will communicate the decision with the information for the appointed town council member to VMHA Executive Director. Administration will also update the council structure for 2024-2025. So the recommendation before council is that town council rejoin the Veteran Memorial Highway Association in 2025 at a membership rate of 15 cents per capita, and further that the town council appoint a representative to the town of Vegreville, from the town of Vegreville to the Veteran Memorial Highway Association. So that we will need to appoint him a counselor this evening, if you agree to join.
We can't make a negative motion. So I'll be looking for a motion to support the recommendation. Councillor Barry makes the motion.
Yes, Your Worship, I'll make the motion, and further to that, I'll ask council to appoint Councillor Bullock to be the representative.
Okay. Any more discussions? All those in favor? Carry. Okay. Next, we'll have councillor reports, and we're going to start with Councillor Curtis.
Thank you very much. Not too much on this one. Legislative meeting on the 5th, as well as our quarterly CAO meeting. Then I attended the Remembrance Day ceremony at the Social Center, which was well attended on the 11th. We had our budget meeting all day on the 12th, and then our council meeting tonight.
Okay. Well, thank you. Councillor Rourke.
Well, I had the exact same meetings, so I'm not going to go over those ones, but I would like to say one thing just to our admin regarding our budget meetings, well, all of our meetings, I guess, is just having spoken with some fellow counselors, I did not realize how few communities actually do stream their meetings and how few are actually live. And I know that it's not always easy, and I appreciate the fact that, especially with the accommodations that you have made for us when we now allowing us to attend virtually at times if we are away, that adds another layer of difficulty. I understand that when we've done budget meetings, as we did the other day, that were fully televised for the entire day and could watch all parts of it. That's a long day for streaming, so definitely appreciate it. But in talking to fellow counselors from other places to find out that very few actually have that, I just think I'd like to thank you guys for that work. And it's great because, you know, I think it would be more difficult for residents in other communities to be able to have to just request, say, meeting minutes and sift through this all. And this way we know that each and every resident of our community had full access to sit and watch all parts of the meeting and discussions and where we came to. So I think that's a great service that you've helped us give the residents. So thank you. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you very much. Councillor Bullock.
Thank you very much, and I'll continue the reality show on YouTube here. So on November 5th, legislative committee meeting for me as well. I'm just copying and pasting what Councillor Curtis had said. November 5th, CEO Council quarterly meeting. November 11th, attended the Remembrance Day ceremony as well. It was well attended, so it was good to see that everyone's thinking and remembering on that day. And our budget meeting yesterday and tonight's council meeting. And that's it for my bit part on this TV show.
Councillor Barry.
Thank you, Your Worship. Diddle, 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 diddle. Basically all the same, except I would like to just make mention that I had informed you that on the 8th I would be attending the Vermilion River Watershed Joint committee meeting and technical committee meeting due to some family emergencies. I was not able to attend that, but they have sent me the minutes. They have made some good progress. They have new executive in place for the Vermilion River Watershed. They've already set up all 5 meetings for next year, and we are no longer going to provide secretarial support. The North Saskatchewan Watershed Alliance will take over all of that in the coordinating of it. So it's coming together to bring the sub-watersheds closer in together with the North Saskatchewan Watershed Alliance. So I think now we just need to come up with some funding to start new projects. So I just thought I'd fill in what I got sent to me because I wasn't able to join them and actually participate.
Have the locations for those 5 meetings been picked already?
I suspect they'll all be Zoom. One of the reasons is that allows, by doing Zoom, it allows us to be in a number of different areas scattered across the Vermilion watershed in Edmonton, and we do actually have one coordinator that works out of Ontario via Zoom. She's a very well-versed individual who's been with us for a long time, and she really makes things work. So by keeping her on at it, even though it's long distance, she's helping us out an awful lot.
Okay, thank you very much. So since our last council meeting, I've been in an active economic development meeting, Jameson, myself, Arctic Response. I'm pretty sure that CEO Ling was in on that meeting. There was quite a few of us there, and we're just trying to help them get their business set up here and what their needs look like. And I have to say it's come along very, very nicely right now. Later that same day, on the 30th, I attended the Crossroads Economic Alliance Committee meeting, and they seem to be moving ahead. There was all the different surveys that were out should be in by the end of the year, at least the end of the year. I'm pretty sure that they'll be published, and even the residential one too. And it's amazing how many people in this whole area within the county and the different municipalities, what they support. You know, I mean, economic development and business retention is very high, but then so is community improvement and rec. And it was kind of crazy. It was so close, right behind business retention and economic development, the growth, and just growing communities and more better rec. So that's what we've got of it so far. They're finishing up the study now. So it'll be very, very interesting for all to see exactly what this whole area, what people think about what we're doing here. So on the 31st, there was a bunch of municipalities that are with us on our recreational feasibility study on our new rec center, or what our needs are. We went into Edmonton and toured some facilities, and there was some good and some bad in that tour and stuff. And, you know, when you're looking at putting together a field house and aquatic center and arenas and stuff, and how some that weren't purposely built, that were built on afterwards to a twin arena, how their function, like it's just not the same as when you purposely design it and stuff. So that was a good there. On November the 4th, we started with having a very in-depth discussion with TELUS as we're getting ready to put the shallows in at Prosperity Park, and that conversation continues. On the 5th, we had a Teams meeting with AJN, the panel company that'll be moving into Prosperity Park in the spring, and just got a few things nailed down. They're on their way back to China for, I think, 3 weeks, and then they should be back. So looks like we should be moving forward there. We had our LEDGE meeting, our CAO quarterly CAO council meeting, which didn't go quite as long as I thought. It was actually pretty easy on the CAO. I thought you guys were pretty good. And then on November the 6th, Jameson and myself had another economic development meeting with Arctic Response. On the 8th, I attended the St. Mary's Remembrance Day ceremony at the high school, which was good. It's always nice to see young people dressed up and wearing poppies and you know, understanding. They had a veteran speak. He did a very good job. And from there, I went over to the Legion and attended the Veterans Lunch. And it's not a lot of Legions. Branch 39 still keeps this tradition going, and it's very nice that they do that. Then, of course, on the 11th, I was at the Remembrance Day ceremony, and you're right, it was very well attended. And they changed their agenda around. So they had the laying of the wreaths right off the bat. Because last year, after all the speeches and all the prayers and everything, and then after the wreath ceremony, those guards that stand at the cenotaph, that's a long time to be standing still. So they got dismissed as soon as the wreaths were laid. So I think that agenda change was good. Then we had our budget meeting. This afternoon, Jameson and myself met through Alberta Hub with Provectus Biofuels in a Zoom call. And they're looking for a little more information. They're a BC company. So we'll be getting back with them with some more information regarding the government of Alberta's Invest Alberta and some other things. And then tonight's council meeting. So that's what I have. Is there any other business of council? Is there anything I missed? Unintentionally? None, you say, eh? Well, we do have one small item. We need to discuss in closed session, so I would take a motion to go into closed session. Councillor Berry makes the motion. All those in favor at 7:53.